4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100. I often come to this park to do a bit of physical activity, but I don't pick up litter here because I can spend hours doing it, and by the end of the day, it'd be just the same shithole that it is at the moment. I mean, look at this. Look at all this. All over here. I've spent years talking to community members, church leaders, mosque leaders about helping out, and it's made no difference at all. So this place I consider a lost cause. 2 days ago, I was interviewed for a documentary up in the bush up here, Karawatha Forest, and in the hours that we spent filming that documentary, we picked up literally a handful of litter. That place is what I call an oasis. It can be saved. This place, at this point in time, with the current mentality in this country, this can't be saved. Look at this litter. I know that the council people were here yesterday. I saw them, and they cleaned all this up yesterday. And all of this trash is just for the ibises. That's why there's ibises here, because they're going through the shit. I can get angry, but I'm not going to, because frustration is a negative emotion. I'm going to focus on the fact that Karawatha Forest over there is an oasis. That's something that gives me hope.
Today in Brisbane, Australia, we're exploring the wellness construct of choosing your battles to avoid the corrosive effects of chronic frustration. We'll pause for a memory about a romance with a boxer in Rome, and finish with a tiny action to help you find your own oasis. You are watching my foster father skipping in a park painted in litter. He started learning to skip back in episode 1 of this chapter when he was in Uganda, and he is doing it now to maintain his own wellness in a place that tests it.
We've just come back from yet another trip traveling around picking up litter. And coming back to Brisbane is so frustrating. It's sad. It really saddens me coming back to this city because it's one of the most littered places I've ever found in Australia, and it's worse than most of the places in the rest of the world. Look at this sign here. This is not 200 meters from where I live. And look at this. Now, if we come down here, all the way along here, we've got vapes, we've got bottles, we did have mattresses down here, but we've got other stuff in here. Come with me. I'll show you this down here.
While he rides this new folding bike, bought after he rediscovered the joy of simple cycling in the Netherlands, let's discuss frustration. For my foster father, frustration has always been his primary negative emotion. Back in the 90s, as a personal trainer, he was frustrated that people valued body image over wellness. Now, he is realising that for every 5 people in that park, statistics suggest only 1 is moving enough to maintain basic biological competence.
I mean, seriously, look at this. Tyres, plastic, styrofoam, Hungry Jacks, all of this right next to the sign. And what frustrates me even more is that I've talked to churches and mosques. There's a church down here, there's 2. There's a mosque up there. And I talk to the people there and they say to me, oh wow, what a wonderful thing you're doing. I don't want compliments, I want help. And this just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. This is my home. And all I want is to go to other places where I can actually make a difference. This here, I could clean this up and this would be worse tomorrow probably. Now you can hear the frustration in my voice, and this whole episode is going to be about frustration and avoiding frustration. I'm not going to come down and clean this up because it's a waste of time. It's a lost cause. I'd rather go to places like Istanbul, London, Paris, Amsterdam, Harlem, and actually feel that I'm making a difference. Adelaide was beautiful. This is Brisbane, my home.
He calls this place a lost cause, not to be cynical, but to protect himself. Psychological research suggests that unresolved frustration triggers the body's stress response, raising cortisol and keeping us in a state of fight or flight, even when there is no enemy to fight. If you cannot change the outcome, like the litter here, continuing to push against it doesn't fix the world. It just breaks you. The salutogenic approach is to distinguish between the battles you can win and the ones that will only drain your battery. Time for a short intermission. A story of my mother's romance in Rome. A short fling in July 1993. Recovering from the bus robbery we mentioned in the last episode, my mother Liz and her travelling companion David were staying at the Flaminio campsite. At the pool, David met a massive man from the Bronx named Marco, a boxer of Portuguese descent who looked like he could walk through a brick wall without dusting off his shoulders. Marco confessed that he too had been robbed that very day. A woman had distracted him while another dropped a sheet of cardboard over his head, cut with a hole in the middle so it rested on his shoulders, blocking his view while they emptied his pockets. Hearing this giant of a man admit defeat made David feel significantly better. If this powerful boxer couldn't stop the thieves of Rome, David's failure to protect Liz on the bus was just bad luck, not weakness. But for Liz, Marco was more than a cautionary tale. She was drawn to him instantly. They started spending every waking moment together. And some of the other moments too. Marco, assuming David and Liz were a couple, eventually pulled David aside to ask if he was stepping on toes. David laughed and gave him the all clear. He wasn't jealous. He was relieved. He used the free time to swim laps alone, enjoying the solitude he'd been craving for months.
Karawatha Christian Church. And in front of this, it's not too bad. There's a bit of litter here, Red Bull, but not too bad. So I'd say people clean up in front of their church. Wouldn't it be good if they could just expand out every Sunday? Come here, praise your God, but then do good works by cleaning up this way, up the road I just came. It's not that hard. Good morning, how are you? Yeah, no, I'm just filming. Yeah, I travel around the world, picking up litter and filming myself to encourage others to do it. No worries, have a good one. Oh, good on you. What a nice guy. See, there are good people.
The climax of this Roman holiday happened in the Senate building at the Roman Forum. Liz, David and Marco were exploring with an Australian family they'd met. It was the place where an ancient empire was ruled. The walls were heavy with history. Suddenly, the family's 5-year-old daughter, Jacinta, began to hum. It wasn't a nursery rhyme. It was a complex, classical-sounding piece of music that seemed to vibrate off the ancient stones. When they asked her what she was doing, she simply said, "It's not me." She pointed behind a headless statue and said the music was coming from a place she could not see. The group stood in stunned silence. Even Marco, the tough boxer who fought for a living, was spooked. It was a moment of shared, inexplicable wonder, a stark contrast to the physical, gritty battles of pickpockets and cardboard traps. But travel romances are often short. The bubble burst. Liz said a difficult goodbye to Marco, and she and David packed up their mildewed tent to board a train for Brindisi. They had to keep moving, carrying the memory of a boxer who'd lost a battle to cardboard and a child who could hear the ghosts of the Senate.
This is my default oasis. It's the place I come when the trashification of Brisbane gets too much for me. Let's have a look around here and let's see what we get. I'm gonna look for litter here because this is where I can actually make a difference. Back there, no, lost cause. Keep using that term lost cause, but I actually think that's psychological protection. Sometimes you just have to say, no, I'm not giving up. I'm just accepting that something is a lost cause, just for your own management of frustration.
We're back now to explore the science in my foster father's default oasis, Karawatha Forest. He labelled the littered streets he'd left behind a lost cause, so he could manage his frustration. Research in psychology supports this as a form of cognitive reappraisal. By consciously deciding that a situation is outside your locus of control, you reduce the gap between your expectation and reality. It isn't giving up. Rather, it is resource allocation. He's saving his energy for the place where he can make a difference.
A little bit down there. It's a beer, of course. So let's just... someone drank the right amount of beer. Almost none. There we go. I'll get 10 cents for that and use that to help promote plogging.
In an hour of filming, that single beer bottle was the only litter he found. This validates the strategy. By shifting his effort to an oasis, a place that is still savable, he moves from frustration to efficacy. He feels useful again. Here is the tiny action we offer that you can try. It has 2 parts. First, identify your own oasis. Find one small place, a patch of grass, a single street corner, or even just your own bookshelf that you can successfully keep in order. Control what is controllable to reset your sense of agency. Second, practice physical balance. As my foster father demonstrates on this rock, maintaining the ability to stand on one leg or squat effectively is use it or lose it. Once it's lost, it's hard to get back. Balance and strength protect you from the falls that often signal the end of independence in later life. Don't battle the whole world, just battle the gravity that you can handle. On screen now, you'll see the next episode shining on the left and compilations waiting on the right. And please, in your own oasis, pick up 5.